everybody and welcome to my channel. For today's video I have a very exciting review because we're going to be playing with the new NikkieTutorials X Beautybay Pressed Pigment Palette. Definitely very colorful since this eye makeup. So today I'm going to be showing you guys how I did this makeup as well as the more natural look using this palette. I'm going to be showing you guys some swatches and I'm going to be telling you guys whether or not it's worth the $30 price tag. If you are excited about this video, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified every single time I post. And now without further ado, let's get started. I pretty much have everything on: foundation, concealer, contour, and I'm going to leave all the details on the description box of what I'm wearing today. Normally Nikkie always likes to start with her base and then her eyes, and that's also the way that I like to do my makeup. For primer, we're going to be using the P.Louise base. This is actually something that Nikkie recommends like in most of her tutorials. Normally I like to use my Pro Filter from Fenty or my ColourPop concealer as an eyeshadow base, but for this specific palette I do prefer something like this. But you could definitely use your concealer. This concealer is my favorite. If you don't want to spend the money on the P.Louise base, I would definitely recommend the ColourPop No Filter concealer. This is my all-time favorite. I'm gonna apply just a tiny bit and I'm gonna be blending it with my sponge. For today's video we're gonna be playing with the NikkieTutorials X Beautybay palette, and this is what it looks like. The packaging is actually pretty nice. It's cardboard, but it feels like a very nice heavy duty type of cardboard. But instead of showing you what it looks like under this light, I'm gonna pop in the swatches and I'm gonna show you what it looks like under direct sunlight. I'm gonna start with this blue. I'm gonna start by pressing it in the outer corner. Look at this pigment. I don't own any blue shadow that looks just like this. Now with another brush, I'm gonna grab the color Plot Twist. And in one of her videos, she actually did mention that this color was meant to be used to blend this blue color, so that's what I'm gonna be doing today. This look is actually inspired. I'm gonna attempt to recreate the one that she created on the first tutorial that she used this palette. So now with a different brush we're gonna go with the color Blend and Snap. And before I actually knew that that color was inspired by the movie, I did thought about the movie Legally Blonde with the color Summer, and I'm using the exact same brush and I'm just gonna blend this color right here, grabbing that same brush that I used for that color blue, and I'm gonna connect the two, but I don't want to take the blue too far, so kind of just leaving it there and then just going back with that same color Summer, and I want that to be more towards the center. Now I'm just gonna go back and blend. So now I'm gonna go with the color Pride, like that with my finger, but look at this color, so beautiful. I think out of the whole palette, that's like my favorite color. If you grew up in the 90s, you probably remember those like kind of like tube tops that had that like I'm gonna show you a picture right here of what I'm talking about. That's what this color reminds me of, and it's so stunning. Like it makes your eyelid look wet but not really, but very sparkly. Anything and everything you can in a shadow. Okay, so now with the small brush, I'm just gonna grab a little bit and kind of blend the edges because I got fat fingers and they don't fit. Now I'm just gonna grab a clean brush and kind of like blend a little bit the edges just to make sure that everything is nice and smooth. Okay, and now with the smaller brush, I'm gonna grab a little bit of that color Ivy and I'm gonna just apply a little bit. And then with that same color Pride, I'm just gonna bring it upward a little bit more. And lastly, I'm gonna grab a little bit of that color Ivy and I'm gonna put it just on top of that yellow, just to add a little bit of highlight, but not a lot. Do we like it? Doing that. Okay, so now we're gonna go to the lower lash line and we're gonna start with the color Slasher, which is actually what she used. Now I'm gonna go with Amsterdam and I'm gonna apply that in my inner corner. Well, not in my inner corner, in my lower lash line. With the smaller brush, I'm gonna go with the color Mama Tutorials, and that one is inspired by her mother. I'm gonna apply some lashes, but in the meantime, I'm gonna leave you guys with a tutorial on a more wearable look using the same palette. Now let's talk a little bit more about the palette itself. It has a beautiful, beautiful packaging. It's cardboard. It's not too heavy. It's not too flimsy. When you open it up, you obviously get the shadows, and then you get two different mirrors. One is just a regular mirror, and the other one is to be able to look at yourself a little bit up close. The palette itself is actually very comfortable. When you open it up, you are actually able to see yourself in the mirror, and it's not super, super heavy. The design itself was one of the reasons why I was very drawn to. Obviously, she has a more colorful side, more bubbly as she likes to call it, and the other side is more inspired about the dark side, just like everyone else. We all have two different personalities. One that's more happy, the other one that's a little bit not so happy. It has a temple, which if you've been following her for a while, you probably know that she refers to her beauty room or her studio as her temple. Obviously, it has a lot of little details, like for example, makeup shimmers, and it has like a little finger sticking out. In the back, it has a note that she actually wrote along with her signature. And then the actual shades are so beautiful. My favorite is obviously Nikkie and Amsterdam. Nikkie is named after her brother who passed away 2 years ago. You also have shades named after her mom, Mama Tutorials, and she has another shade that's inspired by her boyfriend's eye color, which is Mr. Tutorials. Is actually a very pretty shade. The palette itself, I think it's very well made. The only issue that I had with my palette is that this shadow right here is actually very loose, but I'm not 100% sure if that got lose due to the shipping, or if it was, you know, actually made that way. Overall, I think this is a beautiful, beautiful palette. I think it's priced just right, $30. I don't think it's super, super expensive, and I also don't think that it's like very, very affordable, but I do think that you get your money's worth. Although it's a limited edition palette, I actually was very surprised with the size of the actual shadows itself. I think you get quite some product, especially when it's a limited edition product. Sometimes if the shadows are too small, you kind of like don't want to play with it too much because you don't want it to run out. But with this one, you get quite some product, which is actually pretty cool, and I think it was very thoughtful to get bigger shades just so that you have enough product to play with for a very long time. When I'm recording this video, it's still available, but I don't know for how long it would be available. So that's something to have in mind, and the reason why I wanted to record this as soon as possible. I've been a fan of Nikkie Tutorials for quite some time now, but honestly, when I got this palette, I was a little iffy because when you do swatch the shadows, they don't swatch that great. Obviously, it's not a Natasha Denona palette. It's not super, super chalky, but it's also not super, super creamy when you're swatching it in the arm. Personally, I don't judge a palette by the swatch because obviously the only reason why I look to do swatches is just to look at the colors. But when you apply the shadows to your eyes, they actually blend beautiful. They're super pigmented. They're very, very easy to work with. They do have a ton of kickback when you are grabbing the color, but once you start applying it to your eye, there was not a lot of kickback. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I did do my base first, like my foundation, concealer, before I actually did my eyes, and I didn't have a problem with fallout. The only ones that I did kind of have a ton of fallout was with the shimmers, but normally that's the case with most of the palettes, especially when the shimmers are that pigmented. So I didn't really have a problem. It was very easy to just clean up with my brush. So in that sense, I was very, very happy with the pigmentation, with the color payoff, with how easy it is to blend. Sometimes with the pressed pigments, they look very pretty, but a lot of them are very hard to blend, and I didn't notice that that was the case with this palette. Well, if you are able to get your hands on it, I would definitely recommend. It's a beautiful palette. You get a ton of product. It's only $30. Other than that, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.